All right. I think we're live. Welcome back. I'm Agent Ultra, and on this stream, I hack on stuff in Haskell, the programming language that everyone knows and loves and is super popular. Um, I'm building a TigerBeetle database client. TigerBeetle, if you don't know, is a financial transactions database. I got the website up here, and yeah, it does. It's like an online database for financial transactions, so it does credits and debits and ledgers and all that kind of stuff. This happens to be written in Zig, if that matters to you. And it's a pretty interesting little project. I'm writing the Haskell client for it, just to learn a little bit more about it and satisfy a little curiosity. And also because it seemed like an interesting project to do on the stream. We covered a lot of stuff. We've done, some FFI programming, some foreign function interface stuff, calling to C code from Haskell. We have done library design kind of a little bit, and getting into it, we are this week going to, I think we mostly got the sync client pretty much done, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to be kind of cleaning up that code a little bit, making the API feel a little nicer. And if you have any questions or comments, or you want to talk about your projects and what you're working on, feel free to jump in chat and ask away and get into it. It's going to be a pretty chill stream this week. And yeah. So that'll be the sync client. And once the sync client is done, we'll do an async version as well. And then I think this library will be ready to ship. And this will be the second library I've built on stream live. That's on Hackage and available to download and integrate in your own projects. So, yeah, pretty cool. We're getting there. We're making some progress. Let's dive in. So under TigerBeetle database client sync, that's where the sync client's going to live. And here we have all our commands. All right, and to give you an idea of what this API looks like in practice, if you haven't seen it before, we have a little test program here. Basically, you get a result, like what happened. You got to use the with client to run any of our commands. All right, and so with client, you give it some configuration, a cluster ID and an address, and then you can call the command like create accounts, which takes a list of create account commands, things, right? And that's because this API, this library, this database really likes to enable batching together your stuff. So all these commands really take lists of things. Oh. I think the goal of TigerBeetle, if I'm not mistaken, is to be kind of like a data plane sort of piece in your architecture. So it wants to be close to the network, fast, and handle a lot of load. Rather than control plane, which would be more where your application sits and how you want it to react to things and do that stuff with the database. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And let's look at the TV client, right? These are the operations that it supports. So I'm not sure what Pulse is, but maybe it's like a keep alive thing. Not necessary, I don't think, for 1.0, but maybe we need to implement it. And then we have create accounts, create transfers. We've implemented those. Look up accounts and transfers if we've implemented those. We go back over to sync. Right, we've got create accounts, look up accounts, get account balances. That's on 255 there. Got get account transfers. It's on 254. Query accounts, that's on 256. Query transfers. All right, that's on 251. We're good there. Query transfers, 257. And that covers the gamut. think. Get account transfers. Yeah, got that as well. Yeah. Cool. So, and get events. I'm not sure what get events is either. If we need to implement that. Let me look up some of the docs. These are the main ones, right, that we have. Events. Oh, maybe we need to do events. Let's look at the reference. No, they've really only implemented these main ones. That might be something we could, maybe, once we wrap our heads around that, add it later on, but it doesn't seem like essential for using the library. So that's like pretty solid right there. Okay, so what do we want to clean up here? I think we have some like extra code sitting around now that we could probably get rid of. Some unused stuff. Some commented out stuff here. Okay. Yeah, this... We have a bunch of this kind of stuff here as well. And I think in raw as well, we have some stuff in the client here. Alright, so this client code here, I think... I'm not sure if we're going to need it for the async client. But this was all kind of written before we had the FFI layer even like really talking to Haskell at the point. We're kind of like, we wrote this in anticipation of like this is how we kind of want the library to feel, I guess, or work. So maybe we'll keep that and see if we can use it for that. What else is there? It's all high-level stuff. All pretty good. That's fine, yeah. Although we have an account here. So this is kind of an internal-ish module. Alright, these are only... Like, create accounts here is only creating the, like, a foreign pointer with the FFI packet, TB packet packed in for that command. I think transfer has a bunch of those as well. So a user of the library isn't necessarily going to want to import these and use these. And then at the raw level, yeah, we have create accounts packet here. Takes a list of TB account, creates a TB account packet. And that is used. That's the transfer as well. I think that's used by client account up here. We import that there, yeah, as raw. So we use the 0TB account from that. And some of the fields of that, the records there. And there's those functions. So create lookup accounts packet. So these are creating the raw packets that we wrap. And all these functions are doing just wrapping them in a foreign pointer. Cynthial, was I familiar with TigerBeetle before building this client? Only like superficially. I have learned a lot about it since. A lot more. Especially when trying to get the foreign function interface stuff working and calling into the C code, the C client that they provide. So I knew of the database and like what it was for and things like that because I work in fintech, and so I heard about it. What's Adbex Twin Dong? What's going on? Welcome back to the stream. Hope you're well. Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty chill stream tonight. We're just doing some refactoring and cleaning up the code and getting things, the sync client code cleaned up. And then I guess we might even start digging into the design of the async client. And then from there, we'll have a full library. So, yeah, so if anybody has any questions or wants to show their projects or whatever, you know, just jump in. It's all good. Okay, so these functions here are really just calling the raw layer to create the packet and then wrapping it in foreign pointer. I think we could probably move this over into the raw layer and then just have one module. And then we won't, you know, I think that kind of makes sense. We'll get rid of this. So let me get my builder going. GHCID. Okay. So when I'm doing refactoring work, what I like about doing it in Haskell is like you could just, like a chainsaw, just start ripping code out and moving things around. You'll go into the red for a little bit, and then the game is to get it back to green as quick as you can. And just go in baby steps. One thing at a time. So for example, I'm gonna like start with, say, get account balances here, right? Or maybe look up accounts. Let's start at the top and work our way down. Create accounts. We'll look at that one in a minute. Let's start with lookup accounts. Pretty small, pretty lightweight, right? Let's just chunk, break, we're red, right? I want to move this over to the raw layer. In account. Hey, Cookie Cutter. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I'll see you at the next Coder Camp. That'd be great. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. Pretty friendly here. Welcome to distractions. All right, so I'm gonna move this into the raw module here somewhere. Do I have already lookup? I have a create lookup accounts packet right here already. So I'll just put that function above it. Sweet. I'll see you then. Right, so this literally just calls that. So we could probably even get rid of this, but let's look at our type errors here. We've got a monad.io error because we haven't imported that into this level here in this module. All right. Raw account. And that comes from control.monad.io.class. So we'll pop that in our imports here. Foreign pointer as well. Probably right there. Right. FFI. That comes from here, database imply. Oh, we already have it, so we can probably just get rid of that. Right, and so you just follow the type errors. Try to get everything compiling again back to green as quick as you can. So next we got 93 raw create accounts packet, so let's go to there. That's because that's in this module. All right, so now sync client's calling it, telling us, hey, where's that? So let's go fix sync client, the sync client. So it's in the sync module. Right, line 66 here. All right, so I was trying to get it from that module and it doesn't. That name doesn't exist there anymore. So we're gonna change this reference. Let's see if I already import the raw account. I don't, but I can. I can change that. And there we go. Now we're back to green. Okay, one tiny little change, one tiny little step at a time. That's all you need. Okay, let's do the next one. You get account balances. Just rip it right out. Save the file. There we go. Things are breaking. Let's fix them. All right, we'll fix the sync thing in a moment. Let's pop this in here somewhere. Get account balances. All right, we can get rid of the raw there. We can get rid of the FFI dot there. All right, perfect, perfect. Okay, back into sync client. All right, no longer an account there. It's going to be in raw. Boom. Okay, we're green again. Super. Okay, let's get account transfers. Pop. Transfers, transfers. Okay, we can get rid of the raw. Boom. We can get rid of the FFI. Boom. And we fix the reference back in sync. Change that to raw. Okay, we're green again. Let's go to query accounts. There. Query accounts. There we go. Let's put that there. Seems like a good place. Get rid of the raw. Get rid of the FFI. A little too much there. There we go. And back to sync. Change that to raw. Wonderful. Okay, one more. Create accounts. I think this is about the same thing, so let's do this one too. Alright, create accounts packet, so let's put it right above there. Okay, and we get rid of the raw here. Add the FFI. A little too much again. Let's see if we get anything else. 73. Okay, so this type error here, illegal ... and record pattern. This is just a fix, is exactly what you need to do. So we just need to use record wildcards. That's a language pragma. We add that at the top of our file or in our Cabal build. I think I might want to add those to my Cabal build because I use them a lot. I don't have to type them out in every module. There's also like something like, not quite Rust additions, but something like that in Haskell land, BT dubs, that includes like a bunch of these language pragmas all in one. They're like named after years, like Haskell 2021, I think was the last one. Anyways, might want to use that. So let's jump over to the next one. Let's get back to green first. Raw, get rid of that raw. Get rid of these raws. Back to sync. And then we have create accounts. There we are, element 60. That can just be raw. There. Okay, so now Haskell's telling us we don't even need this anymore. It's redundant. So let's get rid of it. And then we can delete that module entirely. Was it client? Database. TigerBeetle. Client. Dash account. Oh, I've saved it. Okay. Okay. We'll make a little commit here. Work in progress one. Still haven't fixed my VM after all these months. Okay, pause. I gotta fix this. One of these days. I don't know why it started doing that either, but it just did one day. Probably did like an OS update or something. Okay. Commit, work in progress. Move client count HS to raw count HS. Okay. And then we should be able to remove. Client count. Right, and if I start GHCID up again, I don't think it'll complain too much. Oh wait, it will, because I have to update the Cabal file as well. Because maybe I should be using HPAC in this project to do it automatically for me, but I'm not. And everything's building fine. There we go, stage that. Work in progress, remove the no longer needed module. One of these days. There. Okay, let's just do a quick little rebase. Squash that, reword it. Make it look all good. So we just moved. Yeah. Moved some functions to the module and removed client of HS. Housekeeping. Right, just a housekeeping commit. Okay, the second step now is to go into raw account and do a little bit more. Next step. So for the create accounts, this one is doing a little bit more than create accounts packet. Maybe we could integrate the two. My idea is that we should just have one. But maybe this is fine, actually. You know what? It's probably all right. That's good enough. The documentation in here is kind of meh. Like this comment's like kind of obvious, I think. Create accounts. It's in the context of a package called TigerBeetle, so of course, create a batch of create accounts. A little bit more descriptive. TV packet. Formatted create accounts. TV create accounts operation. Yeah, probably good. I think it's called get account balances. Let me just double check that. This file here. Actually, got like a little TV operation. That's a little better. Get a balance packet. That's fine. Let me grab that. There. Get account transfers. And query accounts. Right, cool. A little better. A little nicer. Documentation is important, folks. I don't always do it, but when I do, I say it's important. So that I look smart and senior and super developer-y. Add Haddocks to raw accounts. Okay. Let's do the same for transfers. So we'll go to the transfer module here, and we'll do the same kind of refactoring thing. These modules are very, very similar. So I Suspect the process will be much the same. Fairly mechanical. Start with create transfer. Also much smaller. Okay, so we're gonna need our imports. Raw. That just needs to be removed. That needs to be removed. These all need to be removed. That can be removed. We need record wildcards. Ooh, set.map. We don't have that imported here, so we'll need to add that. Oh, we qualified it as S in this module. How much are we using this? Dot. Oh, right there once. I think I prefer it, import it fully qualified as that. That'll look better. And more consistent. Oh, TB transfer flag, it comes from FFI. Same with all of these. Lift target. Oh, it's not in scope because we need controlled out class, I think. And get account ID. That comes from a slightly higher level library, or module, sorry. That comes from TigerBeetle. That account. And amount. And ledger. Okay, cool. And then in sync, we need to get rid of this reference to create transfers here. Transfer does, but sync imports it how? Doesn't at all. There we go, we're back to green again. Super. I think we only got one more function to go, maybe? Yeah, query transfers. So let's pop that one over. Get rid of the raw. And then we go back to sync. And, I don't know, there we go. That, down to raw. There we go, and then we don't need this module anymore. Now we're back to green again, which is nice. Create a little commit for that. Move client transfer.hs to raw transfer HS. Okay, and then let's also go ahead and add the products for that as well. Yeah, cool. I guess we need to export the transfer flags at this level. This explicit export list here just tells you what the module's explicitly exporting, and everything else is like internal to the module. So if you were to import this, you get everything defined in this module plus these, which is probably fine. Okay. So that's good. Probably didn't spell that right. It's okay. We're gonna rebase that, reword that. Oh wait, we're still missing a part, but we'll get that in a second. Moved or and removed. Right. So transfer.hs. There we go. Go. I'm gonna update the Cabal file as well. Good. Okay. Stage that as well. Okay, and now we reduce the number of modules. Is pretty good. Wonderful. Okay. So now all that should be there is just basically client sync. Wonderful. Okay. That's looking pretty good. So one thing I haven't done in a while is like run the code formatting stuff on all of this. So how to, I don't know if I have scripts set up to do that yet, actually. Don't think I do. Did I even... I don't even know if I actually... I have some pull requests open for that. I should go check those. H-Lint Weeder. It needs to be updated. Right, there's some stuff about the weeder that I wasn't sure about. Might need to revisit this one a little bit. What was the thing we have for formatting? Was it Formaloo? Alejandra? Formaloo. Yeah, I think that's what we have. Formaloo.yaml. Okay. How do I call it? I don't remember. I almost never call Formaloo manually. We use it on my at work on our big code base. Molu. And we have tooling that does all this stuff. But this is a small open source library. I don't have a developer team making developer tooling for me. It's all on me. Okay, loaded config from that. Okay, so I gotta like pass in each file I want to use on it. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now. I'll get around to it at some point. Like documentation, super important. Okay, why don't we talk about the async client? Okay. So how are we going to handle async client? We got sync, async. Okay. So the way the library works, and the way the system works, let me draw some drawings. Skadoosh. Okay. Pretend this is like a database over here. A TigerBeetle database, in fact. Okay. Now, that's sitting on a server, it's sitting localhost for us right now and under development, right? There's a C library we call into that does all of the protocol stuff that it needs to do to talk to this database. Right, because this database doesn't like speak a client level protocol. It only speaks like the replication level protocol. So we don't send queries directly to it. We don't send commands directly to it necessarily. The C library is going to take care of doing all that for us and talking to the protocol for us. right? And then we have our code. Let me use a different color for that. Right. So that's us, H for Haskell. All right, we send commands to the C library through the foreign function interface. Foreign function interface, right? And that speaks to the database. Now, our sync client, the way it works, because this is always, from this yellow arrow onwards, it's technically always async. We can only give the C code a callback. Right. And that callback is going to be invoked basically at any time in another thread on our system. Right. So this entire side of things is going to be like on our like host computer, right? Our host machine somewhere. All right, so this C client's going to be in one thread, and this Haskell code's going to be in one thread. Okay. So all our sync client is doing is just looping infinitely, waiting for that callback to get called, right? And then once we get that callback, we stuff the data. Oh, sorry. We give the callback to the C code, which is a Haskell function, right? And the C code calls that callback eventually. So the C code is actually going in a loop, doing all of its stuff, right? And then when it calls that callback function, right, in our Haskell code, it briefly gives over control to Haskell. The Haskell thread wakes up and goes, callback's called. Stuffs that data into like a variable for us that we're constantly iterating and watching on. So eventually that variable becomes full. We read from it. We go, aha, great, we got some data. We clear it out, and then the next command can await. And that's why it's synchronous, right? So every time you call one of those commands, it's going to wait. It's going to block your Haskell thread. Right? It's going to sit there and do nothing until the C code yields control back to us for that callback. And then we can proceed. Fine when you're building a little prototype, you're testing things out, you try to like figure out what the commands are and like interact with the database, make sure the client library works, right? Maybe for a very simple app, you might use it, maybe. But you probably want to use async. Which, as busy as the whole setup for the sync client sounds, it's actually maybe a little bit more, it might end up being a little bit more complicated. Okay. Sync code, sync code, sync code. Await result is kind of like the secret sauce there. Right, so it's going into the sync state, which has that variable, and it's waiting for that variable to have data in it. If there's no data in it, we delay the thread for 2000 microseconds, and then we try again. Otherwise, we return the data. All right, that variable is set up in with client. Right, this result variable here. Right, can either be empty or it can contain some data. One piece of data. One item. Right, this is our callback here. All right, this little bit of code. So this raw make completion callback is how we're wrapping up our Haskell. It's going to wrap up our Haskell function into a function pointer that can be passed off to the C code, which the C code can then call when it's ready. All right, and so inside that we peek at the packet that we get. That tells us what we can do. How we decode the response. And then we write to that variable, the result variable, the response. That's all the callback does. In the async case, I think this is where it's going to be a little bit different. All right. Or maybe it'll be a lot more simple. I think ultimately, in the async case, the user of the library is going to have to supply this callback function and handle its own data on its own. But what I'm a little bit worried about is making sure that it's nice to get the result data out, the response data. We are doing the decoding here. Right, this library is taking responsibility for decoding the response. What does that decode do? Glad you asked. It's your first time tuning in, no worries. I'm going to show you what the decode does. That goes in raw response. Okay, because it's got to pull out some stuff from a pretty low level. Right, we're peeking in pointers, we're interpreting void star results into our library's structures that represent, or records that represent the structures and stuff that come out of that data, right? So, I don't think the user of the library is going to want to have to, like, know how to write this code in order to get this stuff out. So I think we got to like wrap their callback a little bit or something to decode the response. And then their function will just maybe have a slightly different signature. But then all that means for us when we write the async library for this, I think, will be that the async version of with client will take not only the command, but our callbacks. Maybe. And so maybe the user would be responsible for writing their own loop, however they want to write the loop, and however they want to parallelize the calls to the library here. Yeah, it seems like we shouldn't retain control of that. We just want to submit the request they asked us to submit and decode the response for them. But then we don't await anything, right, with the async stuff. We just let that callback fire into their thread, however they've structured things. Okay, so with client, yeah, we're going to need to run our own. Let's just leave that undefined for a minute. Let's fix these type imports. That should be a thing. That's cluster ID. Oops. Okay, and monad.io. And okay, TP response and stuff, sync client T and all that. Okay. So we wrote all these command actions in sync client T. And I don't want to have to write them all over again for the async line. It should be roughly the same. So I wonder if there's a... or we'll just have to suck it up. I mean, maybe it's not that hard, really. There's not a ton of them. There's a difference between a sync submit and an async submit. Right, it's going to be... You just call TB client submit. You call the sync action. Which is a function that looks like this. Nothing synchronous about that. Well, they call the sync state here because we need, okay, a pointer to the client itself. And that's about it. Maybe we could make this a little bit more generic. Or not even generic, just simpler. I want a client here. Oh, this code I think we can get rid of actually. Yeah. What changes do we have? Haven't changed anything yet. Okay, good. Let's do that first. Let's remove this. All of this. All of this. No. This isn't the right module to do that in. Maybe we should get rid of this one. We should get rid of it. Ball file. Just make sure everything builds still. Good. Okay. maybe need replaced. I don't know if that'll actually need to be replaced, but okay, so that's good. Let's go find a place for this code. What do we call it? Call it internal. Yeah, let's maybe build in here. TV packet and all that stuff comes from our FFI layer. Okay, gotta add this to the Cabal file. Okay. So the only thing that being used from stink state here is just this client pointer, and that's about it. So what I'm thinking is maybe we just remove the sync client T. It's just some monadic action that's going to return a TV client status, but we're going to need that parameter back for the client pointer. Biggest client. I created a little new type wrapper for it. I have to remember about that. Actually, it's probably in here. Find PTR, yeah, it's in the raw. Import there. And okay, so then we pass in the client pointer that way. And we don't need sync state at all. It's going to just be action and param. Hey, cookie cutter. At the risk of asking a question, there's no such thing as a dumb question. I'm not a fan of that word. But you want to know, do you do this type of programming for work, for fun, or both? Both. Yeah. I work at a company, a fintech company called Mercury, and we do Haskell on the back end there. I also do this for fun, obviously, on my stream. I maintain a few libraries on the side, and it's just kind of the programming language I use for the most part. Sometimes I still do stuff in C when I'm doing low-level doohickeys on constrained platforms, but for the most part, it's Haskell. Or when I'm interfacing with C libraries, of course. Okay, so it's no longer really like sync submit, it's just submit. Maybe this isn't the best place as a model. Maybe it should be in raw. Yeah, actually, that's probably better. We don't have to make a new module. Yeah, I'm gonna move over there. At the bottom. Gonna try starting stuff with GitHub. Okay, cool. Yes. Really good way. If you're starting like just at the very beginning of your programming journey, you're gonna have to come across Git at some point. And I think GitHub might have pretty decent tools there and like documentation and help to get you started. So yeah, probably. What sort of thing are you looking to get into? I load on class. Probably don't need rod up there. DB client submit. File. My module, yeah. Okay, that's good. Get that. I'm gonna get rid of this module. Hopefully that answers your question, cookie cutter. Well, let me know. What sort of projects are you looking to get into? Total novice. Yeah, liked web programming. And seeing you never fit into the traditional workplace, programming could be more accommodating. Definitely could be. Yeah. So it's really, really good to have like doing it for its own sake can work for some folks. So maybe that's you. That'd be great. And GitHub is a plethora of code in it and projects to work on. And a lot of people host their stuff there. But in addition to, maybe you'll find something that is like really relevant for you. Something you really want to work on and make better. All right, a lot of the ideas behind open source is that like you can fix your own stuff. It's kind of the gist of it, the idea. All right, so if there's a particular program you use that's open source, and you're like, hey, I wish I had this feature, perfect, right? I find that just gives you the motivation to like get through the hard parts in programming. When you're like, why am I even doing this? What is this even for? It helps when you have like something to apply it to, right? So if it's like a paint program, for example, right? You could be like, okay, well, I really need it to do this. So if there's something hard in the way that frustrates you or gets you stuck, because you have a reason to learn it, it'll be a lot easier to get through the harder parts than to be like, well, I don't even know what this is for and why I'm learning this, so, you know? Building things, taking them apart, understanding how they work. You're gonna find it. There's tons of that in programming, for sure. Yes, it will, 100%. There's tons to do. There's web stuff, there's embedded small electronics. The stuff I do in Mercury and FinTech is like handling card payment transactions and stuff. So like, it's got a big service that runs and all kinds of things that need to happen when you swipe a card or you enter it into Amazon.com or whatever and buy your things. To yeah, like little desktop programs you might use and things like that. So always stuff to dig into. So are you thinking of picking up like JavaScript or maybe Haskell? Where was I? Yeah, we put it in here. I think Cabal, did I hit the Cabal file properly? I can remove that. There, perfect. Create a little work in progress commit for that. Oh, hang on. Yeah, stage that, then commit it. There we go. Boom. Try a bit of everything. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, good luck to you. And I'm sure you'll find something eventually. You know? I don't know if GitHub itself will help you find what you're looking for, but there are lots of projects hosted there, so once you find it, it'll probably be on GitHub. And you might have to end up learning Git in order to contribute your code and manage your code. I'm using Git right now, but I'm using Emacs in front of it, so you don't see all the commands I'm using to do it, but it basically just keeps your source code and shares changes with other people who have a repository of source code. But not just source code, text too, really. Even files sometimes, if you want to be bold. Although I don't recommend it. Text is usually the best. Oh, awesome. Boot camps are a great way to get started, for sure. I just did a little boot camp myself, but it was for not programming. I recently learned how to sail a boat. I took a little course. That was pretty fun. Okie doke. Yeah, so we added submit to raw client because we want to, like, when we're starting to think about the async stuff. So let's get sync client using that new function instead of sync submit. See if we can make that work. So again, I'm going to fire up GHCID, which is going to be like my program's going to like rebuild things and stuff. Oh, it's real. Sailing is really fun. I read a lot of books over the years since I was a kid. It's always kind of one of those things that I was like, oh, someday I will learn how to sail and I'll go on an adventure. Sounds fun. And took the first steps, and it turns out it is. So I joined the local club. The racing club. There's a local racing club, and I'm joining it. And I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. Okie doke. So instead of sync submit here, we're going to just tear this out. We're going to have things break, but that's okay. When I'm programming in Haskell, I live in compiler errors. It's just the way it goes. If you're used to other kind of programming languages, you see compiler errors, you go, oh, why? I've done something wrong. But in Haskell, I'm like, wow, that's just the next thing I need to do. So in fact, I'm just going to replace all of these sync submit calls with just submit. Okay, it's not in scope. So let's bring it in scope. Oh, it's under raw. Sorry. So let me undo that. Yep, okay. Sync submit. Raw.submit. There. Okay. Now it's giving me this funky type error. That's because I haven't passed all the arguments in. You can tell because like there's a little arrow in there, so it's still a function. And that's because I got to pass that pointer, client pointer in. So all these calls now are making raw.submit. I have to get that client pointer from the sync state by asking for it. Sync state client pointer. So let's go through. I think create accounts is where we're going to start. Yeah. Ask, and then sync state client. It's client pointer. Okay, and then 59. Same here. So, just gonna jump down here. Da-da. And here. Here. And here. And here. And here. That's it. Okay, we don't need foreign pointer here anymore. That's actually kind of nice. Okay. It just compiles. Probably means it works. But I'm just going to do a little quick double check. Make sure that I haven't really actually that it still kind of works. So let's get the database started. I got a little script for that. I call in bin tb start. What did I call it? tb run. And then if I tail the log it creates. There. Okay, things are running there. Go into TigerBeetle. Just there. Prepare. And just run our test program. It's okay. It should probably fail because like I think the database already has an account. Know that, but oh look at that. Oh no. Oop. Yep, we completely broke the API because I removed that module. Go me. That's okay. Yeah, we haven't released the library yet, so I'm allowed to do that. Get rid of that. Which means, oh, because it was re-exporting a bunch of stuff. That's why we had it. Yeah, you could probably bring that back, but let's just update it for now, I guess. Address cluster ID. Ah, it's more. Maybe I should revert that, because that seems not good. Kill that. We will stash this change for now. I'm gonna go in here, create a revert commit for that. Hey, Twitch D. It's going pretty well. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking. I think we got the synchronous version of the client library in a pretty decent state. And we're getting started on the async client. Just doing some housekeeping, moving some modules around, making the API feel a little better, work a little nicer. Kind of messed it up a little bit, but not too much. Okay, there we go. So then I need to go back into database TigerBeetle client.hs and just remove the code but leave the module. Maybe a bunch of these, not all these imports, but most of them. We need to move this and that. We're going to leave the re-exports. Get rid of that, and that. All good. Okay. Now we should be able to run things. Oh wait, this is running the old stuff. Hang on, not quite done yet. Get that stash back. No. Wait. Let's commit this first. Yes. Let's fix main first. And client, actually. This is a good time to do this. Account. Address, cluster ID. And code, I think. Yeah, code. code. There. And ledger and timestamp, I think, are probably the other ones we want. That. Okay, because then we can go into main, import just client, which is nice, and sync. And then we got the account ID. I think this is for create account. Create account. Yeah, it's ledger ID and then account code. There. Yeah. How do I feel about that library and what it's doing here? It's not like completion is going to be able to figure that stuff out. Linker error, that's interesting. Why do we got a link error? Oh, missing some modules in our Cabal file. Oops. Good thing we're sussing this out. Also a nice reason why you should have, like, maybe consider having a kitchen sink executable in your library build process so you can test everything works nice and compiles properly. Normally if I was using better tooling, this wouldn't be a problem, but doing things a little manually. It's not a huge library. Not a big pain in the butt. So it wants ledger, yeah, which isn't in here. We have timestamps. We do timestamp. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so it still runs the way it ran before. Create result response. The count exists already because it's already in the database. It's kind of expected. This morning I would like to clean that up though. But not listed. Code. Yeah. Not raw. There we go. Build without warnings. I like that. I like a build that's nice and clean. Lovely. Sometimes I ignore warnings, but not the end of the world, but it's nice when it's just... You aim for it, you know? Okay. So, that's cleaned up. Let's see, the main part of this change is that when applied, this change will add more re-exports to TigerBeetle slash client.hs. We added basically ledger, code, timestamps, client ID maybe? I think that was already there. Okay, now we should be able to apply our stash here back to where we were. Alright, where we moved sync over into the raw layer, or the submit, sorry. And that should just work. Yeah, super. Let's create a little commit for that. This will modify client sync. Use the plain raw submit function. Instead, a sync client T version. Okay, so now our async code should be able to reuse that a little bit. All right, we're not going to have... might need to do the same for these, I don't know. Only not. Because sync client T is kind of what makes sync client special. Right. Submit, we can reuse that. Right, but then the sync client T function needs the state 1 in order to do the submit. Well, just to do the submit, really. Await results. Well, and await result, I guess, because await result also needs to get that special variable out. So yeah, it needs to be a sync client T. So we're still going to have to write async versions of all these commands. And just call raw submit. So they're going to be very, very, very similar. Except maybe we're not going to have to... Oh, maybe we could just return the client result. Because the response is going to go to the call, and is going to be in the callback. So maybe we call it async client T. All right, and it's going to be a TB result. We can shut down the database. Get GHCID going. Oh, we haven't added async yet to the Cabal file. Go. Guys, we haven't defined what an async client T is. Do we even need to? Kind of. Kind of want to be able to do... Let me just, like, kind of, like, do a bunch of stuff, but just with the types. just to give myself like a little taste of what this could be. Just get rid of all the code in the body, undefined. Ignore the parameters. If I can macro this. Nope, can't macro it. Okay, so just gonna just do a few. Just do a few. Maybe leave the rest commented out. Okay. So like what is async client T? Well, it's gonna be some kind of monad. But what kind? Does it even need to be there? Like maybe it's a reader, just like the sync client, where it has the client pointer reference. Alright, that's all the sync client T is, really. Right, it just holds this little bit of data so the functions can just ask for it internally, like here and here. It's going to have a return type as well, so we'll call that conventionally by A. Do I use driving strategies? So we drive applicative, functor, a bunch of funny names if you haven't heard them before. Monad reader of async state. I think maybe monad IO. Yeah, monad IO. So we're going to have to import all of those. Control that monad reader. And that's it for those. We need to define async state. So far, I think we just need the client pointer. Client qualified as raw. Now it wants TB response. Oh, right. TB response, TB result. So I think our commands, the way we're going to end up using this library on the async style. Let's look at main for a minute. I'm running a little low on time, but if I was going to port async, the async library. Let's just get rid of that for a second. We could have multiple threads, maybe, potentially, set up here to do whatever kind of setup we want. Let's just pretend we're going to use the async client here in a single thread, though, just to make things simple. I'm thinking that might look like we'd have to give it a callback, remember? Right, so we might have like some kind of concurrent data structure or some kind of data structure for handling our data. Maybe like an IO ref or an STM container of some kind. So like some kind of response map thing, perhaps. And we might call async with client. And we'd have to give it this configuration, like a client ID. All right. Address, say something, something. And a callback. Now that callback is going to be a function, and I don't know the shape of it yet. Maybe it's going to be a TB response. Like a response from the server. Maybe it will get decoded for us by the library in async.withClient, and so we just have to provide a callback that does something with the response. Maybe that's how it should go. And then maybe with that we go like it's some kind of IO-ish action so that we can use our IO ref in here and we can write to it. Like I don't know, with something. I don't know if this is the right API or whatever, but write IO ref responses with our response. I don't know, something that updates it. Something like that. And that would be fine. Right, so we could then like maybe put Sterling here. Done. And I'm off center on my home row here, so I'm hitting random keys. Maybe I should stop slouching. Okay, so then we put the string link down. So this is going to be an async call here. And so the idea would be that this would fire off on our main thread. This callback is going to be called at some point in our code. We don't know when. All right, so this is essentially just going to almost return immediately. So maybe we want a response here, like was it successful or not? Right, the result would show us that like the command was submitted to the server. Now this callback's going to eventually do something with it. Right. And then push_ling will be called basically right away. Like this isn't a very good program, but I'm just kind of like sketching things out here in code. Now, if I wanted to do something and spread this out on like a bunch of workers, maybe I have a function handle response that like my TB response say does like IO unit or something, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Right. And then I might have a function from the control.concurrent library called like race. I can race 2 threads. I don't even have that. Let me just pull that up. Current. Is it called race? Maybe I'm forgetting what it's called. Near. Anyways, we could like say work IO or whatever. Create a bunch of threads that just like sit in a loop waiting for input, and all they do is sit with client and try to submit whatever they get in their input pipeline. Right. Or maybe they sit for one client at a time, the one command at a time, and then they batch them all up and submit them in one request. That kind of thing. They batch up like 100 and submit a request, one request to the server of 100 different operations or whatever thing. However you want to structure it. Could we do it with this kind of code? With this like async with client thing, with our response callback. Feels like that's a possibility. I don't really see how that would block anything, because you could have your handle thread, your handler, take a reference to your STM channel, say, and it does some like IO stuff. Right, and so like it might try to like read from the channel, a wait channel or whatever, for our command. Again, I'm just pseudocode here. This isn't actually the STM library or anything. You're going to wait for things on a channel to come in. So you get like a C, you get that. You could call async with client with your client configuration. Maybe you want to hard code these or make them constants or something. Whatever. And your callback. And I don't know, maybe you also get like an output channel or something. Right, and so the response might put that on the out channel. I don't know why, but just try to see if it's reasonable. And I mean, that seems like pretty normal code there. And then the result. And if it's status okay. Great. The command was submitted. And so we just call handler again. If it was like not okay. Maybe we have an error channel or something. Something like that, you know? That seems pretty reasonable, but we'll have to start digging into this next week because we're out of time. It's the end of the stream. So let's keep this in mind for next week when we get into this. And yeah, let me run through all my usual stuff that I got to do. Let's push up the code. Go here. What am I doing? Okay. Sure, save that file, but we're just going to throw out the changes. Yeah, fine. Get rid of that. We got to add async. Add the Cabal file. Okay, async. Yeah, it's a work in progress. We'll just leave it all there. It's fine. Under construction. The async client library like that. Okay, that's a fair bit of work. Let's push that up. Okay, so all the code you've seen tonight is for Haskell client library for the TigerBeetle database. It's on GitHub. I'm Agent Ultra. I'm also Agent Ultra on github.com. And TigerBeetle-HS is where the code for this project lives. Just paste that in channel for you. There you go. Voila. So, you know, follow along if you want to, you know, like the project, you want to follow along and check it out, see how it's going, maybe even contribute. I'm open to receiving contributions, of course. Always willing to do that. So thanks again for watching. If you go to the link above my head, that's declarative.tv. There is a cool website there that has a link to a Discord server where we have channel for this stream. So if you're watching this from my YouTube stream, then, or you just you thought of a question to ask later on, you can go there and ask it there. There's lots of other streamers that are doing things in declarative style programming languages as well that you can find through that website and through that Discord server. So it's a pretty cool community, very welcoming, and would love to see you and hear about your projects and what you're working on, or answer your questions if you have any. What else? My socials. So I'm on the Fediverse on Mastodon. I'm on the types.pl server. I'm Agent Ultra there as well. You can find my website at agentultra.com and links to my YouTube channels and everything else from there. I also post updates mostly about programming and about this stream. So if you follow me there, it's a great way to get updates about what I'm working on and where I'm at and stuff with things and such. I do try to content warn about non-technical stuff. Don't always, but I try my best. So fair warning. what else? That's about it. So let's find someone to raid tonight. We've got a pretty good audience. So let's do that, and then we'll send you on your merry way. Let's go raid. Let's find some game devs. All right, let's raid OC Man. All right, here we go. Ready up. Let's make sure we give them lots of love. Give them all the love. And thanks again. May all your monas be free and your types always check. And we'll see you next time. All right, I do these streams about once a week on Wednesday evenings at 10 after 8 in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. So you can check that out. Then sign up for notifications. You'll get notified when I go live. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you out there. Let's go.